All right, you're good.
So the sign on the right says nobody should be killed
For their opinions.
over their opinions.
Yes.
So that is coming from what? Your moral compass?
Yes.
What gives you the right to oppose your moral compass on others?
Yeah, so I'm not saying that I have a right to impose my moral compass on other people, but what I am doing is making the case for my set of morals to the best of my ability and basically positing them or posing them against you or anybody else who's here. So my personal belief is that every human individual ought to have the right not to be unjustly aggressed upon. I think that anytime you unjustly aggress upon a person, which would be anytime you touch, harm, or hurt another person or their property without their permission or without a first act of aggression, I think that that is wrong and immoral. So like, for example, if I walk up to David and I punch him in the face, that's unjust aggression towards David. If David punches me in the face and I punch him back, that's self-defense. I'm justly aggressing him in response to his unjust aggression, and that's what guides most of my moral principles.
Can I ask you another question?
Absolutely.
Where are you getting that moral compass from? Where does that come from? Why do you think that?
It's the right, the non-aggression principle. That's where I'm not. If you're asking if I'm religious, I'm not religious. So I generally have found this principle, the non-aggression principle, to be, in my opinion, the most flawless moral code. I think that it plays into essentially any situation related to morals. Why is stealing wrong? Well, stealing's wrong because stealing, theft of property, is unjust aggression. Why is abortion wrong? It's unjust aggression. Why is murder wrong? Unjust aggression. Why is, I don't know, name a crime, is unjust aggression. Why is slavery bad? It's unjust aggression.
Okay, so from my understanding, that's a very reactive or passive stance. So when it comes to someone who is the aggressor, you think, and I'm asking, there's no way that you should be proactive in stopping it? Like, if you can see it, if you can see it coming, you shouldn't stop it?
No, because you cannot predict what other people are going to do, and therefore you cannot judge them for what you anticipate they're going to do, unless it's like this, right? Unless it's like this, where I'm like actively you can like see I'm swinging on David, right? But if I'm just espousing a belief and you think that belief is dangerous and could potentially lead to violence, you don't have a right to kill that person just because you think eventually the national progression of this ideal will lead to violence. I think leftists, the natural progression of their ideals will lead to violence, and that's not just because I think that, it's because they say it. They know that they need a violent revolution in order to institute socialism in the United States, otherwise it won't work. The Marxian view requires a violent revolution in order to institute. So I can't kill those people just because I know that they want violence.
Okay, so my next question is,
so I'm going to take it out of the case.
at what point, like exactly, do you have the right to stop someone or be proactive, like you said? So right before someone kills him, you can tell they're about to kill him. Is that like?
Yeah, it's aggression, so it's like a threat, right? So if I swing on David but I miss, that's a threat. That's a threat of violence, right? So it's unjust aggression. So aggression, in this sense, is not just me yelling at David is not aggression in this sense. It would be deemed an aggressive act, like in the colloquial sense. But aggression in this sense means violence or threat of violence.
Yeah. So my main question, is that at what point can you be proactive, but you could be the aggressor instead of the reactor in terms of if you see
the just
else
aggressor. You could be the just aggressor
So
if
you
somebody's
could be the
threatening.
just
You could be the just aggressor if somebody is actively attacking you or threatening to attack you in a credible way.
Like self-defense,
Yeah,
right? Like
or-
self-defense, you would agree that's just aggression.
Yeah. So, but if you are protecting someone else, is that considered just aggression?
Oh yeah, sure, for sure, yeah. If you're protecting somebody else that you're like, but I think there has to be a degree of observation. Like, I've actually done this, right? Like one of my colleagues, Katie Davis Court, was being chased down by Antifa militants in Seattle, and she was chased into an intersection. She's a little like small woman, right? And I had to pepper spray them to defend her, right? Because I could see the threat against her. She was chased into an intersection, oncoming traffic, et cetera, et cetera. I think there has to be a level of observation. I think you have to actually watch something go down physically and then respond in the moment. But what I don't think you can do is like, if I punch David right now, and then I walk away, and then tomorrow David sees me and he shoots me with a gun, he doesn't have the right to, you know what I mean? The time has passed. He's no longer under threat.
Okay. I have another question.
Absolutely.
So, would it be fair to argue that, like you said, the liberals, conservatives, they're using violence to incite socialism, would it be fair to say that that is a type of just aggression from their perspective?
Wait, what do you mean? Say again.
Like they're using violence to promote socialism, like you said, right?
Huh.
From their perspective, could that be seen as just aggression?
No, because I think it's abstract, right? Again, like you have to. This is self-defense, right? So you have to.
But
I'm not
objectively.
You could like this. Where this rabbit hole will ultimately lead is like whether or not capitalism is bad, which ultimately isn't the argument. I think that's where it would ultimately go. If somebody is like actively oppressing other people, if somebody's actively oppressing people and has them in chains, then I think yes, ultimately you can like justly aggress that institution that's oppressing people back. And I don't want to get into the specific, like the moral argument of whether or not capitalism or socialism is good, because it's going to lead us down like a long rabbit hole. But yeah, sure, fine. I would say that can be a form of just aggression if you rebel against like an unjust government, for example.
So to understand your point of view, what you're saying is it can be said that from their perspective it's just aggression, but from your perspective, what they're doing is not just aggression. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely. Yeah, I don't believe that they are acting justly in aggression.
So would you say that you guys are just
no, I wouldn't say like so. For example, right here, so generally those like what leftists are trying to rebel against is like the government, right? Because they believe the government is oppressing them, right? There's a difference between aggressing against an unjust government and trying to prevent oppression and gunning a man down in broad daylight sitting behind a table just like this one because he had a difference of opinion. Charlie Kirk never hurt anybody. Charlie Kirk wasn't oppressing anybody. Charlie Kirk went to college campuses and he invited his opposition to come have conversations with him. He taught his followers. He preached to his followers. Show the people on this campus the respect that they don't show us. Do not be disrespectful to them. Do not boo them. Do not laugh at them. Do not ridicule them. Show them what we don't get. And there are clips of him doing and saying this. He loved the people who disagreed with him. He believed that they were God's creation and that everyone should love them. And that's who Charlie Kirk was. And he was gunned down in broad daylight because people didn't like his opinions, not because he was oppressing anybody.
I want you to look behind you. You see that tall building with the GSU on there? Mm-hmm. Somebody was sitting at a building like this because people like us sit behind a table like this expressing our positions and was gunned down for that. Right? He's not some political authority. He's not a member of Congress that can enact his positions. He was simply going to campuses and laying out his position in a very civil and tolerant way. So there's no, in my opinion, I don't see a way to justify that, even if you're on the socialist side or communist side and you believe that this is a fascist that is trying to oppress you. There's no justification for it. It seems to me what they wanted to do is end Charlie Kirk's movement because he's a very effective individual. Yeah, I mean, there's really no justification for it.
So I hear what you're saying, and I'm just trying to understand. So you believe that there's no justification for the killing of Charlie Kirk, but the people, I'm seeing a lot of rhetoric from the opposite side saying that it was just, and your whole argument is just that.
It's greens that's on.
No, you're good.
You're good.
I'm just making sure this
Sorry,
isn't blown
I'm listening.
out. It's not blown out.
Just start again. Okay. So the one side is justifying the murder.
So they're justifying it, like they have the justification
who's they?
for it. I guess you can say on the conservative, liberal,
It's good.
Democratic side, like.
Conservatives are justified.
Sorry. Liberal, not conservative. Liberal, like.
Okay, like left-leaning.
Yeah, on the left side, like they are saying that it's a justified killing, but you're saying it's not a justified killing. So how can you determine what is just and what is not? Because he said it's about the aggression, right?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what I said. Charlie Kirk was not unjustly aggressing anybody. He wasn't harming anybody. And also,
but they would argue that he was aggressing through his rhetoric, and they said it was like harmful. Words to harm.
Yeah, I would say sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words can never hurt me. Somebody is not unjustly aggressing you. Again, unjust aggression is physical violence because they're saying things that you don't like. Or you feel offend people in some emotional way. And I also want to say real quick, before you go into your next point, I really appreciate how respectful you're being, and I really appreciate how respectful the audience is being, and this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
I also want to say that I understand that they can make the claim that Charlie Kirk is a fascist, but that doesn't make him a fascist, right? I can call you racist, right? That doesn't make you racist. So just them calling Charlie Kirk fascist doesn't justify going out and conducting a political assassination at the end of the day.
Okay.
It's arbitrary, right?
So-
Like, who's deciding that he's actually a fascist?
That is exactly the point that I'm trying to wrap my head around. Like you said, it's arbitrary. Even the concept of just and unjust, there's a divide. It's arbitrary. So
I believe it's rooted in actual law, right?
in law that humans create,
Yeah.
who decides the law?
Well, it's a combination of everything. It's common law. It's also based on religious law. So right, like, I shouldn't be able to just kill you just because I want to kill you. We used to do that thousands of years ago.
I think that laws, whether I know a lot of people don't like this, but laws are ultimately based on the morals of whoever's writing them and whoever's voting on them. Okay, and so I think what we have to do, and exactly what we're doing today, is arguing for whose morals are the best morals and whose morals basically stand up against everybody else's and are more logically consistent and logically sound. And that's what we have to do, because ultimately morality dictates law, and everybody has a different set of morality and or of morals, right? And so you have to go out and talk to people. If you feel that you have the better set of morals, it's not a, you know, if I feel I have a better set of morals than you, which I do, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're an immoral person. It just means you think differently than me, and that's totally okay. But it's an absolute necessity that we talk about it and figure out who's actually right, because I'm sure you probably think your morals are better than mine. And
So I'm trying to summarize your point. So what's the word? The point, not the point. But what you're trying to achieve.
the objective.
Objective, exactly, of this discussion is to come to an understanding. Would you say that's a good summary?
Yeah. I think I think discussions serve a couple different points. I think our main, we have a couple, especially lately. We have a couple. This tour is planned because Charlie Kirk is dead. We're out here to show people that you can still have discussions, and you can still stand in front of people who disagree with you and talk to them without fear of reprisal in some way. Another reason is we want to provoke thought. So even if you walk away with your mind unchanged, we want you to just like go home and ponder it, right? And we're going to go home and ponder what you're saying. We're here to teach, we're here to learn, and we're here to observe. And I think that's exactly what Charlie was doing as well. And it's also for the people at home. We record it, obviously, so everybody can see these conversations and they can think as well.
Cool, man. You answered my questions. Thank you,
Yeah.
bro.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming up and being respectful.
Thank you so much.
Hey man,
How's it going?
good, dude. I really appreciate both of you being here.
Thank you.
It's really a pleasure to see you going out and living in Charlie's name, promoting free speech and exchange.
Come a little closer to the mic.
Exchange of ideas. I think that what happened to Charlie was really devastating, no matter what side you come from. There we go. No matter what side you come from, what you think. He was a father, 2 beautiful kids, and a wife. And I don't think anyone should ever be killed for their ideas.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you a conservative or do you lean more liberal?
Honestly, I mean, I've never been a huge fan of the political compass because I think it's very categorical.
Do you more so like? I mean, and then this is nothing against you. I just find it like if you're more like liberal leaning, I find it very interesting and also very.
I would say I'm a moderate conservative, to be
Okay,
honest.
fair
But
enough.
honestly, in recent events after what happened to Charlie Kirk, and I've been following you on Instagram for a
Thanks,
while.
I appreciate it.
And if you remember,
You're famous in the South.
I'm famous.
Famous in the South.
if you remember before the day of Charlie Kirk, it was the murder of Arinya
Yes.
on the bus, very tragic.
Yeah.
And I can't help but feel that these are definitely somewhat radicalizing and almost solidifying of my beliefs.
Yeah, and I think there's something interesting about both. I think that Irina's death was caused by a failure of Democrats, not leftists, not I mean, I guess Democrats are liberals, but a failure of Democrat politicians, specifically in law enforcement. The failure to lock people who need to be locked up, the failure to keep them in jail. And by the way, I live in Seattle, and I get attacked all the time, and those people go to jail for a couple hours, and then they get released every time. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the fact that her attacker was black, because all of the people who attack me in Seattle and get released 2 hours later, they're all white, all of them. right? They all are crazy white leftists, and they attack me, and they belong in prison, but they don't stay. And so I think that's a failure there. And Democrats have really tried to warp this Charlie Kirk assassination into a thing about gun control. But the fact of the matter is, if you've seen it, the rifle that Charlie Kirk was killed is not a rifle that anyone is trying to ban. It is a bolt-action, single-fire, scoped hunting rifle. Nobody is trying to ban this rifle. In fact, the argument that Democrats always use is you don't need an AR-15 to kill a deer. What do you need? You need a .308 bolt-action hunting rifle, right? That's what they always say. You don't need anything more than that. Well, that's all it took to kill Charlie Kirk. Nobody's trying to ban that gun. Rifles, you're more likely to be struck by lightning in this country than you are to be shot and killed by a rifle. Rifles account for almost like the smallest portion of gun deaths. Pistols account for the most. I think shotguns are either right above rifles or right below. I don't remember. Just look at the Universal Crime Reporting Database, Table 8. Thanks, man. I appreciate you coming up.
Have a good one.
How's it going, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Is it here? Is it catching my voice?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
voice, yeah.
good. So I know that you're a GSU alumni, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Kinda. Well, I went to GSU.
Okay. I'm just a little curious and want to get to know you a little bit more. So, before we jump into the political discussion, what major were you?
Political science.
Interesting. I'm actually poli-sci myself.
Very nice.
Pre-law. I'm doing public health as well.
Great. That's awesome. Political science is great. I think.
Oh yeah, political science is great.
Just don't let the professors indoctrinate you. Hold to your position.
Actually,
Or influence you.
I get what you're saying, but also I feel like, at least this is my experience in college, is now I'm pretty sure there are professors out there who will try to skew you one way or the other, but at least with the professor that I have had at GSU, they usually allow for open discussion. Like literally last Thursday in my political science research method class, our entire class was just talking about Charlie Kirk. He was talking about my professor was talking about his death and asking us about the morality principle around it, and eventually he wrapped it up by saying just political violence and murder is just wrong.
Great. I'm glad that there's professors like that on college universities, even at Georgia State University. I've had a similar experience, whether it's Georgia State University, University of North Georgia, where my professors were balanced, right? I've had people that were objective, allowed political discourse, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. They weren't biased, they weren't grading my papers terribly. But I wish I could tell you that was the case entirely. I took a class that was critical race theory, and of course I'm going to oppose critical race theory. I'm going to deny objectively the various arguments that Kimberly Crenshaw or Carol Anderson will make in their books. But my professor he accepted that ideology. For him, it wasn't a theory anymore. So anybody that opposed that, he would ridicule. He would allow the class to join to ridicule against those individuals. And that is similar to what conservatives experience when they engage in public discourse, even inside a college classroom. So, for example, we've seen Emory professors celebrate, right? Not saying, I hate Charlie Kirk, right? They celebrated his assassination. I don't think those kind of professors should be in the classroom teaching me, because obviously they have a bias. Now add another factor in there. They're your political science teacher. Of course their bias is going to be installed in the classroom, and now they're going to be ideologically indoctrinating you. Whether you want to call it indoctrination or not, that is the reality of it. Imagine somebody like a completely opposing side of you came in there and did that same exact thing. You would say, you're trying to indoctrinate me.
I get what you're saying. I actually do. And
Hey, we agreed.
yeah.
That's it. We're done, right?
No, there's a lot. I could tell you right now. There's a lot we would disagree on because politically, I'm like the complete opposite of you.
Good.
Like,
And I welcome that. I love that. You are my favorite type of people to have a discussion with. Seriously, I'm being serious. I don't like an echo chamber. What if I agree with everything or even half of it? If we completely oppose each other, one, we should be able to hold a public discussion without fear of life or anything happening to us. Second of all, that's the principle of America, right?
true. Yeah, that's the principle of America is freedom of speech. And another thing is, yes, I was saying my political views are complete opposite. Like I would describe myself. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a socialist, but I'm like borderline. Like not that far. Like I'm not that far.
And do you feel like prior to starting school, were you a little bit more moderate? Is it through your classes you became a little bit more radical and pushed?
Yeah, yeah,
Or were you
100%.
always on this balance
Thank you, I
between
appreciate it.
one foot on
Yeah.
socialist, one foot still a little bit,
Yeah,
I guess,
100%.
liberal? Let's call it that.
Honestly, I started doing.
Yeah, thank you for the support. I appreciate it.
I always have read a little bit, like higher level. So I really started doing political. Well, not political research, but reading stuff and learning about events. Probably starting like 8th grade.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, it's just I'm weird that way. So
No, that's not weird. That's it. You're ahead of the game. That's what it is.
so I always have actually always been a little bit more on the liberal side. Like even when I was in high school, I was always on a little bit more on the liberal side. Now have I gotten more and more towards socialism as I move through high school? Yes.
What attracts you towards socialism?
The socialism part, at least, what attracts me is the ability to have people be supported. I feel like a lot of the problems in America,
Keep our stuff
especially
all
health
consolidated.
disparities, could be solved.
I'm sure the crowd
if we
will
not
grow.
only allow people access to care, but allow them access to jobs and stuff like that.
I just want to counter that real quickly. I can be
Yeah, just
more
zip up the
opposed
cloth
to
over
universal
thing
health
first.
care. Simply for the fact that if you're going to institute universal health care and give 300 and something million Americans free health care overnight, some people don't know if they want to do it overnight, over a period of years, whatever. Okay, well, you'll have a bunch of people overnight, let's say, having free health care. They're going to go and line up at all these hospitals, and there's going to be a bunch of wait times, 8 months, 9 months, 12 months, 16 months. Here's the other thing. Okay, we can fix that problem with infrastructure. So we're going to build the hospitals first, all this stuff, and then give health care? Fine. Then tell me the cost for that. How much does it cost to make this all happen in the first place? It's about $4 trillion a year just to cover universal health care before building the infrastructure everywhere, right? So that's the problem I have with, I don't want to call you a socialist, but with socialists. They advocate for these utopian ideas, but they don't even take the second step to calculate how much is it going to cost us. And you're going to say, I know the response, it's like, well, we're going to just tax the rich. At some point, you don't have enough taxes to actually pay for all the stuff that you want, because it doesn't stop for healthcare, right? And then it goes to education, then it goes to housing. So healthcare is $4 trillion just for the healthcare part of it. That's the problem I have with socialism. It's a great idea, don't get me wrong. Internally, in my heart, it sounds beautiful. But when we put it in practice, it's not realistic. And I'll say this, my parents coming from USSR, these ideas have led to authoritarian figures completely seizing control of any individual freedoms in the state, and that's led to millions and millions of people dying. So it actually did the opposite.
Didn't your grandfather have to spend time in the gulag?
Yeah, can you imagine that? 6 years in the gulag in USSR. You may agree with his religious point, right? But he was just spreading religion, Zionism.
And furthermore, like the USSR, I don't know if you're a tankie, you're probably not, but a lot of tankies cite like the USSR, and they talk about like the USSR lifted so many people out of poverty. They solved homelessness, I hear tankies say. The USSR solved homelessness by taking all of the homeless people and putting them in gulags. That's how they solved homelessness. There was no homeless people anymore because they were all in prison.
Of course. And I actually do know that. I'm Chinese, so I come from. I wasn't born in China. I was born in Hong Kong, and my grandparents, on both sides of my family, went through Mao Zedong. So I have learned from them how horrible it is. So I understand when you take it too far, or when you start. I understand your point that socialism could be taken too far to a point where they start seizing all individual freedom. And that's where I get that worry and I get that concern. And that's why I always think that with socialism, it's one of those things where we should have regulation on how government works and what their powers are. And we just need to make sure they're not exceeding those powers. Like, personally, when I took the political compass test, I was left libertarian. So I'm so very much socially liberal. Because the political compass, when they said left libertarian, what they mean by libertarian is socially liberal,
Yeah.
so not like in your traditional sense.
I mean, that's not necessarily what libertarian means. Libertarian generally means that you want the government to have the least amount of power possible, which is what I am. I'm a right-wing libertarian. I don't think that left-wing libertarianism exists. I don't think that it's a thing because having a left-wing view, left and right is an economic axis. You have like anarcho-capitalism on the furthest end, and then you have communism or socialism. Marx uses them interchangeably on the farthest end of the left. You can't have socialism without authority. It's a core necessity for the ideal to be enforced. So, like, for example, I've talked to some anarcho-communists, and you were just talking about how you have to prevent the government from getting all this power, which is virtually impossible in a situation where the government is the only people with the power. You've abolished money, you've abolished private ownership. Nobody has anything except what the government gives them. They're the elitists now. They're in charge. So it happens every time they try communism. It happened in China with Mao, it happened in the USSR with Lenin, Stalin, etc. Right? You always have that concentration of power. And why do you need the concentration of power? Well, because in socialism, so in capitalism you can do socialism, right? You can have a workers' co-op. You can have a company that is owned by the workers. You can't have that in socialism. Like if I lived in the USSR during war communism when Lenin got rid of all money, I can't go into the woods and start a market. I can't go into the woods and start selling things to people and printing money. Why can't I do that? Well, because it's a violation of the core tenet of the idea. But what stops me from doing that? You need a government to stop me from doing that. That's why you can't have socialism without a government.
I'm not saying without a government.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying like libertarianism. Like
I do get what you're saying. That's why I also don't like the political compass test that much because it's oversimplified.
I agree.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where
I'm a fascist support. No, I'm kidding.
It's one of those things where it's really oversimplified. And when I say I want government funding, like I'm not even saying getting rid of private companies completely. I think that capitalism is necessary.
So you're more of like a sock dem, more like
just
somebody
one
who might
foot
hold
in
office
socialism,
now.
1 foot in
liberalism.
So.
I think that like democratic socialism. There's two different things that people mean when they say democratic socialism. You have one side where what they mean is they're just capitalists, but they want more regulation. That's not democratic socialism. Then you have like the democratic socialists of America that they're just communists, like they're Marxists, right? Then that's actually socialism, right? Democratic socialism in the sense that people like. I don't know.
Like
who's a
Bernie
Democratic
Sanders, AOC.
Well, Bernie, no, they're more extreme. Like AOC is actively an anti-capitalist, but it's opposition to capitalism, right? So like democratic socialism, in the like moderate Democrat sense, is just capitalism with more regulation. Yeah. It's definitely like kind of an impingement on capitalism, but it's not socialism, that's for sure.
I get why you say that. I do get why you say that. So I guess yeah.
It's an amalgamation, I would say.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just it's like what I'm saying is like more public funding for certain stuff, but not eliminating private ownership because I think like yes, for example with healthcare, you're gonna need private companies to invest in whether that's research, new medicine.
There you go, you're a capitalist.
Technology. You're just gonna need that. Like I get what you're saying, and that's why I say I'm leaning towards that, but I'm not actually that because I don't agree with those people that we need to get rid of capitalists completely, and I also don't think that eliminating an entire class of people is good. Whether it's not only not good, but it's not morally right.
Let me ask you this: what do you think about billionaires? And by the way, I just want to say again. Thank you for being so respectful, and thank you to the audience for being so respectful. I'm sure that most of you probably don't agree with what David and I have to say, but I appreciate everybody taking turns and being respectful and all that. So what do you think of billionaires?
Billionaires? Honestly, I don't have much of an opinion on them because I don't know too much about them. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I do know is that this is why I hear, especially people who are more on the socialist side, said, is that they're all evil and they're all exploitative. I get why they would say that, but do I agree with it? at least I don't know enough about how those stuff works to agree or disagree on it. Is I at least personally, because I always try to approach things with a little bit of humility, is saying like, if I don't know something, I'm not gonna go and say that this is right or wrong.
And you have no idea how much I respect that, because I say the exact same thing all the time. If somebody brings something up in a discussion, we live in a world that has a lot of information flowing all the time, and there's a lot of news stories all the time. If somebody cites an article and I've never heard the headline, I'm going to ask them to send that to me, tell them I don't know about it, and tell them I'll read it later and try to figure it out. But you're always going to, even if you're just looking at it from a selfish position, you're always going to look smarter saying I don't know than you're going to look when you talk about something that you have no idea what you're talking about, and that's why I don't do it. But I would say the reason I brought that up, the billionaires, and this isn't an argument against you because you didn't take a position on it, is you were talking about more social welfare programs and stuff. I disagree with social welfare, but what I would say is that billionaires fund the social welfare. Billionaires pay almost 90% of all taxes in the top 1% pays almost 50% of all taxes in the United States, and the top 50% pays 90% of all taxes, over 90% of all taxes. So the majority of your social welfare programs are directly funded by the upper class in the top 1%. So
yeah, of course, and I remember you asking how are we gonna fund those programs. A lot of people are probably not gonna like this and think it won't work.
Can I take a wild guess?
Yeah.
Increase taxes.
No.
Okay. Well, let's see.
Decreasing military funding.
Oh.
I feel like our military have gone to a point where, like, here's what I think. When, like, a lot of the time our government are too interventionist, like we're sending money to other countries that are at war, whether that's Israel, whether that's Ukraine. I don't think that's what we need to do. I think we could save those money and use them to better our own people first.
Here's something I would say is like, while I do support funding to like Ukraine and Israel, right? I think there's benefits to it. We don't want to talk about Israel on this tour specifically.
Oh, yeah.
As much, he's a Jew and I'm a Zionist. We love talking about Israel and we'd love to talk about it more, but the only reason we don't talk about Israel on this tour is because there are a lot of conspiracy theories right now about Charlie Kirk and about him being killed by Israel. And we are doing this to show people that we're not afraid and also to honor Charlie. And we don't want to
entertain
we don't want to
this.
disrespect his memory in
course.
talking about Israel and making it about Israel, because it's not. And that's not to say that you did that, but what I would say is I think there are benefits to those things, but that's also not military spending. So like that's our foreign aid budget that's delegated by Congress and not through our military.
Yes, sorry, I shouldn't have confused this.
No worries.
What I'm saying is not only should we, like,
Let me ask you this. You said you want to reduce the budget for the Pentagon. What exactly? Do you have an idea of what you want to reduce there? What you don't like? What you think is ineffective? What doesn't help America?
I'm sorry, I don't have it right on top of my head.
Sure.
But I know, I don't want to say I know because it's what I heard or saw on social media and TikTok and stuff like that. So I'm not even sure if it's 100% accurate. But like, I know what I've heard is some of those, there are a lot of projects and a lot of spending that the Pentagon uses that are not really necessary, and that they're just using it to keep their funding.
Sure, I agree, but that makes it subjective, right? Each administration gets to decide what they want to, right? It's under the purview of the executive. So the executive at the end of the day is able to say, we want to delegate funding for these programs and these programs, right? So what you think, what I think regarding where the money goes to the Pentagon is kind of useless.
That is also true. That is also true.
I'm worried that if we cut funding for the Pentagon or we start to reduce funding for the Pentagon, and there's a reason why Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't really matter for their political party, they continuously increase the spending when it comes down to the Pentagon, because I think we understand how important the Department of War, not the defense anymore, is to America, whether it is protecting our allies internationally or it's protecting our homeland, because that's important for us as Americans.
I actually do get that. It's just, I guess this is also part of it that, like, I actually, like, this is also my moral code. Is one of those things where I'm a huge pacifist, so I don't like war or violence.
Sure.
And like even when people say like we need violence to achieve civil rights or equality, I disagree with that. I think we could achieve those things without violence. Like I look up to MLK, I look up to Gandhi, I look up to those people. Now, not to say they have done very horrible things. Like I believe Gandhi slept with his niece, right?
I'm not sure.
That's what I heard. I'm not sure either, but
That's outside of my American interest.
yeah, I get that. I get that. But like I look up those people, I look up how they use non-violence to achieve their aims, and that's what I hope to do. Because I believe if we try to change things through violence, the only thing we're gonna get in response is more violence.
I do agree with that sentiment. I think that this is what I would say is I think that we shouldn't respond to peace with violence. You shouldn't kill like people who disagree with you. But I think that there is times where war is necessary, like World War II, for example, like Pearl Harbor, we were attacked. We cannot just allow our people to be attacked without defending ourselves. 9/11 is another example. Like I don't think we should have been in Afghanistan as long as we were, but we cannot just be attacked and 2,799 of our people be killed and we do nothing about it. And with that being said, I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I think the guy behind you is getting a little tired, so I want to make sure that everybody gets time to speak.
Of course.
And we're
But
kind
hey,
of
give me a handshake. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks for coming
Thank you
out.
so much,
Yeah,
buddy.
thank you.
We're really
How's it going,
excited
man?
for you because I'm curious. I'm honestly curious. Do you have any updates regarding whether there's more evidence that the shooter was a Groyper?
Well, I was gonna say I actually
I know, I'm just
appreciated
trolling,
our
yeah.
conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
Because you guys kind of opened me up to think about like out of my box. So
Come a little
wanting
closer to the mic.
wanting one opinion. I don't think your opinion is correct, but
Sure.
I think we need to wait for more evidence. I'm here because I wanted to talk about this sign. I
Perfect.
know you
We
guys
have our
wanted-
first one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we actually went on about the other things a little too long because that was also the one that I wanted to
Come back up. Come back up. Jump in line. You can come back up.
First question, I guess, is why can a man not be a woman? I'll concede the chromosomes, right? And like the biological aspect, but yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that a man cannot become a woman any more than I can become a lizard or I can become a black man.
Sure.
The definition of a woman is an adult human female, and the definition of a female is a person or denoting a person of the sex capable of creating ova. And
Okay.
so it's a full circle definition. You have what is a woman? A woman is an adult human female. What is a female? A person that can produce ova. So a man cannot produce ova. He can't be an adult human female. Therefore, he cannot be a woman.
Why does that like bother you so much?
It bothers me because I am loyal to the truth. I think the truth is important. I don't think that we should degrade the truth. I think that the idea that a man can be a woman is a degradation of the truth, in the same way that I think the idea that I can become a black man is a degradation of the truth. Even if I dress up as a black man, paint my skin black, I'm not a black man. I'm a white man pretending to be a black man. Just like a man who dresses up as a woman is a man pretending to be a woman. If I dress up like a lizard, I'm not a lizard. If he dresses up like a penguin, he's not a penguin. We're just two guys dressed up as lizards and penguins.
Which, by the way, today I am identifying as a black penguin. But I just want to say, as a black penguin, let's look at the policy side of it as well, because I get it. It's like, why do I care? I'm more kind of socially liberal. Like, I don't really care if you want to be this stuff and identify as that. But then there's the policy impact of it, right? Whether it's in restrooms, whether it's in college sports, whether it's teaching little kids this stuff, right? There's an actual policy impact of it when we start to say that, yeah, a guy that, or somebody that's biologically male is a woman. That can actually have effect of it when it comes down to you, me.
I actually just saw something. David, since you're the expert here, if I start identifying as a Jew, is there a chance like we can get that credit score up?
You know what? Give it 2 days and I'll give you loan-free. I'll give you
no interest rates?
No interest rates on your loans, buddy. Use the rate here all day long. But you understand why that's silly, right? Like, I understand the argument that I don't want to call you a liberal, but that I hear from the left is that, why do I care? They're just identifying as that. In reality, like Cam just pointed out, when we just start to say this stuff and say that that is the case, then we also have to act upon it based on policy that we have. And that's the problem I have.
So, like, what sort of policies really concern you? You said bathrooms, you said sports,
Yeah.
and you said education.
Yeah.
What specifically about education?
Well, so we've seen multiple examples, even here in Atlanta, which I think is the major problem that I have. I forgot what the exact name of the middle school. It's going to bother me, but they had about 3 different books there, right? Why? This is an middle school, where they were teaching kids in the books that they were reading that yes, a boy can be a girl if he feels like it, and a girl can be a boy if she feels like it. I don't think that's good to teach seventh graders, eighth graders. Is there a reason why we should be teaching 7th and 8th graders that?
I think that, acceptance within someone's, like, how someone wants to identify, can prevent further issues. I know the famous last words of Charlie Kirk involved, transgenders being mass shooters. That's linked more to mental health, I'd say, than
Let me just say this though real
identity.
quickly, but there's a difference between affirming their belief and actually providing treatment for their, what I believe is a mental illness, and that is supported by various
Do you believe
sources.
being transgender is a mental illness?
Well, it's body dysmorphia, what is it?
Yeah, it's body dysmorphia, and I
yeah.
think actually most transgender people agree that it's a mental illness. And their solution, what they say is the treatment for having the mental illness of body dysmorphia is being affirmed in your gender and being allowed to transition. And I fundamentally disagree with that. Yeah, gender dysphoria or body dysmorphia, similar things. And I totally disagree with that because there's another mental illness or another disorder that is related to body dysmorphia. It's called anorexia or bulimia. And when women have anorexia or bulimia, only say women because it's more often women, we don't tell them, yeah, you are fat and you should stop eating and you should binge and purge, right? We say, no, you're like unhealthily small and you need to eat food. When somebody has schizophrenia, we don't tell them, yeah, the voices in your head are real and you should listen to them. We tell them, get on these pills and hopefully, this will like make the voices go away or subdue them or make your life a little bit easier. And we treat them for their mental illness. We take them to therapy, and we don't just tell them that it's true. And so I don't think you should do that for this one either. It's the only case where we tell people that their mental illness is valid and true and that they should fulfill what their illness is telling them to do rather than treating them.
The most ridiculous one is like the healthy body people, right? There's a mental illness where they feel like they want to be disabled, like they're not in the right body, so they want an arm cut off or they want their eyes taken out so they can be blind. You wouldn't affirm that, right? You wouldn't teach that in 7th grade. You wouldn't, right? We wouldn't affirm that to them.
I think you're kind of diverting, trying to make me agree with you.
But that is the mental illness, the same thing.
You made an interesting point. You said gender, right?
Yeah, I think
are you aware of the gender and sex?
Yeah, I think they're the same.
distinction?
I
You
think
they're
the same thing. I think the same thing because when you claim that your gender has changed, you claim that you're a woman. Again, a woman is just an adult human female. A female is of or denoting the sex capable of producing ova, and therefore sex and gender are the same thing, right? If you're just saying, and there's also no in between. I don't think that you can, I don't think you can be non-binary, and I also don't think that you should be able to just, oh, I'm a man now, I'm a woman now, I'm a man now, I'm a woman now, I'm a man now, a woman now, right?
Do you believe that gender is a social construct? Is that why?
I do fully believe gender is a social construct. I believe that we as a society have labeled certain characteristics to be associated with one or the other.
But you believe that when you become the opposite gender and you transition, despite the fact that you believe it's a social construct, you believe that that person becomes either a man or a woman, right?
I think the issue here becomes more of the strict restrictions we've put on people's identity. That, say, for example, I wanted to be more feminine. I wanted to dress up as a woman. I wanted to do feminine activities.
I don't believe in restrictions, by the
Right.
way. I don't think that transgender people shouldn't be allowed to dress up as the opposite sex. It doesn't, is it weird? Yeah, it's weird, but people do weird stuff all the time, right? Like, look at this guy. No, I'm just kidding. But, people do weird stuff all the time, and I don't think that you should be able to restrict the bodies of adults, whatever they want to do with their body, they should be allowed to do it. I don't think the children should be allowed to do it, nor do I think they should be coerced to do it. As long as it's not happening to children, I don't care what you do. It's just wrong. What you're saying is just factually untrue, but you're allowed to believe things that are factually untrue, right? I probably think some of the things you believe are factually untrue. I'm just busting your chops. I'm just messing around with you. But you get what I'm saying. And so I don't believe in restricting it. I just believe that everybody should also have the choice to decide whether or not they play into the lie, and I personally won't.
Yeah.
But so, say someone comes up to you, says they want to identify as a woman. Do you think your core belief will make you disagree with them?
Yeah, I absolutely disagree with them. If they're saying they're a woman and they're not a woman, I totally disagree with what they're saying. Now, have I in the past just said screw it and called them whatever they wanted to be called just to avoid conflict. Yeah, I've done that for sure. But it's just, I don't think I should be forced to tell a lie. I don't think that I should be mandated to tell a lie. And there's a lot of people who think that me not calling somebody by their desired gender would be like hate speech and I should be in jail for that. And I think that's totally absurd.
I think that's a key thing, is that like, if I encounter somebody that's transgender, I may disagree with them. I may not believe that they, if they're biological male and they're claiming to be a woman, I don't believe that. But I don't know, I'm out in public, I'm not going to make a point out of it, right? I'm not going to tell them that you're not a woman. Do I hold that position? Absolutely. Am I going to continue to believe that regardless of how nice they are to me? Absolutely. But I'm not going to be a terrible person to them or whatever the case may be.
I just real quick, before you make your next point, can I just get like a quick show of hands from the spectators of like, if you guys can hear both me and him, okay? You can't?
Nah, it's a little low.
Which side is low? Is it me or him?
Hello.
It's him? Okay. Yeah, just stand a little closer to the mic.
Is there a way we can bring this up?
maybe if we do it like this. I just want to make sure everybody can hear you.
Is this better?
Is that better? It's better. Okay, good. All right.
So
that should be
what's
better.
your proposed,
Just come a little closer.
what's your proposed policy change?
I think that the policy doesn't need to change. I think the status quo has pretty much always been that legally a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Now there are some states that have gone as far as to allow people to like change their genders and their licenses and stuff, which I think is actually like a huge pragmatic problem, because if you are identified as a man in all places, but you're actually a woman and you have long hair, or your license identifies you as a woman but you have a beard, if you were to commit a crime, who are the police looking for? They're going to see a guy with a beard and be like, that's not a woman, he must not be the suspect. Like, it creates all these pragmatic problems. And I guess you could kind of say like the opposite causes some pragmatic problems too, but I think it's far less common and far less of an issue. So yeah, I think the policy just shouldn't change. I think that women should use women's restrooms, men should use men's restrooms, and I also don't think that men should be in women's sports. I think that that's been repeatedly proven dangerous.
What's the obsession with restrooms? How often do you look at who you're going to the bathroom with?
No, it's not about like how often I look at who I never have to worry about this because I'm a man, right? Like if some transgender person walks into my bathroom, chances are they're going to be far more effeminate than me and their arms are going to be smaller. So I don't have to worry about it, right? But
You never
women,
know.
and especially young women, when they're potentially like in the bathroom with some giant bearded transgender person, and I really don't want to be derogatory here, but like, I want with, again, I'm not trying to be derogatory, but I want you to understand, like in the shoes of a small young woman who sees a big bulky person with a beard, like have you ever seen photos of Leah Thomas? Dude's ripped, right? Like he's jacked. You look at pictures of him and like he has ginormous shoulder muscles, like he's huge, right?
Having a undress
you wouldn't. It's not even just about like safety. It's also about comfortability. Like women should feel comfortable in their bathrooms, and they shouldn't have to feel like they have to watch their back in their own bathroom, more so than they otherwise would. And that's my biggest thing. And like, the same thing goes for like locker rooms, because once you throw the bathroom thing away, now you're looking at locker rooms. Paula Scanlon is a friend of mine. She swam on Leah Thomas's team. Leah, or Will Thomas, previously swam on the men's team and dated a member of the women's team. Then one year, Will Thomas comes over to the men's team and the coach announces this person will be swimming on the women's team. And next, they initially said he will change in the family bathroom and he will not be in the women's restroom or the women's locker room. And think about this: bathing suit, completely naked when you're changing it in and out of it. And now imagine you're in a racing suit. They're extremely tight. Women's racing suits are extremely tight, and they're extremely difficult to get out of when they're completely soaking wet. Paula told me that basically when you hold this little racing suit up, it looks like it could fit an American Girl doll. It's so small. So it takes them like 20 minutes to change in and out of these things when they're wet. So they didn't put Leah Thomas in the family bathroom. Leah Thomas, with his full penis, was in the women's locker room. You've seen it. I'm sure you've seen a sports locker room. The lockers, they're not even really lockers. They're just shelves, and they're right next to each other. It's boom, 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 boom. And now Paula and her teammates are standing right next to Leah Thomas with a penis, who is attracted to women, watching them change, and who has dated actual people on that team. And that person's just in the locker room now. And it's not that I think Leah Thomas is going to like sexually assault somebody in that locker room, but it's just, not comfortable. I wouldn't be comfortable if I had to change next to a woman I didn't know, or a woman who I'm not in a relationship with. It's just uncomfortable.
It's not just uncomfortable, but everything that Cam just said is just, it doesn't make sense. And that's why even Democrats, more than 2/3 of them, reject this crazy stuff. They don't want to see biological males in women locker rooms, especially in colleges or even in high school. It's common sense. And that is why, independents overwhelmingly support that. 80% support that. I don't have to talk about Republicans, but 2/3 of Democrats, like how many things can Democrats and Republicans, the majority of Democrats, agree with Republicans on? Practically nothing. There's, other things, but that right there is common sense.
I will admit that I haven't thought much about the specific sports issue, and it seems like you guys think a lot about this case specifically.
I have a lot of friends who have had to deal with it firsthand on the court and off the court.
I will say, though, that I do believe that statements like this cause more harm than good,
Why?
especially for a lot of young people who are dealing with gender dysphoria and, trying to identify on at least the gender spectrum of who they want to be, especially when I assume you guys consider yourselves masculine men.
Do you think that we should lie
I'm a
to
little
them?
chubby.
I think...
Do you think we should lie to them? Like if I fundamentally disagree that gender and sex are not mutually exclusive, should I lie to them?
And again, there's no law that mandates that they can't dress up as whatever they want or be whatever they want. You know what I mean? It's just fundamentally it's untrue, and I'm not going to pretend like it is true. And
you're not aware of conservatives that want to. You're not aware of conservatives that want to restrict.
No, I'm not.
that.
I'm not aware of anybody outside of like super extreme people like we talked about yesterday,
Yeah.
who want to actually restrict these kind. And I don't know if they specifically talk about this or what. But another thing too is like I'm from Seattle, and Seattle has a very dense population of transgender people, and as a byproduct of that, there's also a very dense population of detransitioners who have gone so far to the left. Like one of them lived his entire adult life as a woman, got all the surgeries, and is you honestly it's when I first met him I thought he was a woman. Like he's still woman passing even though he's detransitioned, and his username is transphobe01 on Twitter. he's gone so far because he's realized like that this is so terrible and it screwed his life up so much. Another one, Ari Salvatore, is a good friend of mine in Seattle, and he transitioned, lived as a woman. He went to Thailand and got his penis removed and had an artificially constructed vagina put in its place. And for all these people, and Maya Poet, who actually realized that it didn't matter on October 7th when she was in Israel and the bombs came down and she had to decide whether or not to grab her breast binder. Mm-hmm. And she's like, wait a minute, this doesn't matter. I'm going to die if I grab it. So she ran to the bomb shelters. Yeah. And so
now what about
I know all these people, and they've gone so far. They all started when they were children. Mm-hmm. All of them started transitioning when they were children and now have realized it just messed their lives up.
The people whose lives it saved. I believe that
I don't from the data that I've seen, it seems that transgender suicide rates remain the same regardless of whether they transition or not, right. Which is another thing that leads me to the conclusion that this is a mental illness, and I think that we should get them real help and not just a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
That's why
I just want to add also, so after the surgery for transgender individuals, the highest suicide rate is in the 8th year post-surgery. So it seems like the surgery doesn't fix anything. Affirming their belief doesn't fix anything. It actually pushes them further to do the unthinkable, which is to commit suicide.
I think it's more social issues that if people like you two, when you guys find out and knowing that people think like you do, you guys have the right to think and free speech. That's not going to take that away. But I think that's what causes the suicide rates, that they're constantly
even though post-op, right? So the surgery was supposed to fix the mental illness part of it, but it didn't. The prescription drugs that they're prescribed have only make them worse. I mean, that's the reality of the prescription drugs. Not only are they lifetime patients of Big Pharma now, but they're also being affected by those pills that they're taking on a daily basis that can be messing with their heads, which is why data points to the 8th year being the highest suicide rate after transition.
Could I ask what data, what evidence? I'm not fully familiar with.
Yeah, Mayo Clinic.
Mayo Clinic?
Yeah, so I would
suicide
say,
rate post-transition. What about pre-transition?
I don't know about that.
I assume it's quite high.
It can be, I don't know,
From
right?
statistics I've seen, think it's quite high. That's why I kind of
But the difference is that you believe it's because of people like Cam and I. The society doesn't accept them. I actually believe the society has gone to the point of where they have an entire month dedicated for them, to the point of where they don't care about women anymore. They would rather affirm their belief because they want to affirm their belief, right? But you're saying that society is actually doing the opposite.
It's like, I think it only picks up like right here. So just keep that
I
in mind.
gotcha. I'm not good with the mics. That's a problem.
That's okay. It's okay. Totally okay.
Thank you.
No. It's just David. David needs to talk closer to the mic.
Yeah. It's hard for me to put the mic right.
You got anything else?
I mean, no, I appreciate you guys having this conversation. I'm just like, really, these are questions I think need to be solved through conversation, figure
100%.
out why people disagree, why people agree. And at the end of the day, like, my voice speaking for transgender people, I can't speak for the experience. I was born as a man.
Sure.
I identify as a man.
100%. Hey, I want to say, you were there yesterday and you were respectful. There was a lot of chaos yesterday, but you were there and you were respectful, and you came back today and you were respectful again. So I really appreciate
Really
it.
appreciate it. Seriously.
Yeah.
Thank you
nice
so
talking to
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi. How's it going?
Hi. This is
meet
my
you.
first time ever speaking,
Nice to
about
meet you.
anything.
Uh-huh.
So I did write a little bit
Talk a
down.
little close to the mic.
Okay,
That's-
I
it's
did write a little bit down.
totally
just to
okay.
talk about,
Sure.
and I really just want to talk about Charlie Kirk and
Yeah.
things like that. So just give me time.
Yeah. No worries.
But
Take your time.
for me personally, as a black woman in America, I don't have really any empathy for him, to be honest, because of the things that he spoke about, the words that came out of his mouth, him saying, hurtful and hateful things. I don't feel like me or anyone else here, if we don't have empathy for him, should be ridiculed or, talked about bad for not having empathy for him.
Yeah. I can't force you to have empathy for Charlie. I have a lot of, honestly, Charlie's death has devastated me, and I know that it's devastated a lot of other people around me. A lot of we actually have a friend who spoke to Charlie the night before he died. We're just like, it's just hard for us, right? So, but I can't force you to have empathy for Charlie. The only thing that I have an issue with, like an active, proactive issue with, is when people celebrate his death, because I don't think that anybody who's a peaceful person who was killed for their words should be murdered. Can I ask you what hurtful and hateful things Charlie said?
Okay, so him stating that it's okay for that gun deaths should happen to withhold the Second Amendment was wrong. Him saying that empathy was a made-up word. Him saying that the Civil Rights Movement was a mistake. Even him talking about Juneteenth and how that shouldn't be a holiday when it literally ended slavery and is a way to, uplift people from moving on from slavery and things like that. The words that he spoke targeted black people, women, LGBTQ people, immigrants. Him saying even that people born here in the United States from immigrants shouldn't be allowed in the U.S. is wrong as well. I also feel like
Just to clarify, you don't.
Could we hear that list just one more time? Because I want to go through some of these. And by the way, there's at least one in there that I disagree with Charlie on, and that's Juneteenth. I think that Juneteenth should be celebrated. I don't know why Charlie said this. I don't know the context around the quote, but I think if not for anything else, all Republicans should support Juneteenth, because guess who freed the slaves? Abraham Lincoln. He was a Republican, the first Republican. And we shouldn't have slavery in the country. I don't know why that's not something that we should all agree on. But for the conservatives listening, Juneteenth should be celebrated, if not for anything other than, if you don't care about slaves, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican and he did it. Slaves were freed in the North by 1804, though. That was 5 years before Lincoln was born.
And what president made Juneteenth a federal holiday?
I'm not sure who it was.
It was Trump.
It was really? It was
That
Trump?
was Trump in 2019 or 2020, whichever one it was. But
What were the other statements?
okay. He talked about Juneteenth. He talked about he said that U.S. People born
Yes,
from immigrants in the
I'm
United
happy.
States should not be.
absolutely, I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cam
so,
agrees
so
with
the,
that.
I agree with this 100%. I think that there should be by the way, almost the entire world had this doctrine. It's called just soil doctrine, where the child of a person, as long as they're born on American soil, is an American citizen.
2019.
There's only 4 countries in the world now that have this just soil doctrine. The United States is one of them. This doctrine in the United States comes from the 14th Amendment. The author of the 14th Amendment, he was a senator. And before he died in the late 1800s, he talked about what he meant by this. And what he meant by this was that the children of diplomats, aliens, and foreigners would not be American citizens. You have to have one parent who is a citizen of the United States, or possibly two parents who are permanent residents. You can't just hop the fence and come have a baby, and then that baby is automatically an American citizen. They have no connection to this country. They've done nothing to earn it. They shouldn't be an American citizen just because their parents have jumped the fence.
Okay, what did you guys do to earn to be here?
I was born to two American citizens.
Okay, so what did they do to be born here? Like, what, like...
They're foreigners and they're aliens. I'm not an alien or a foreigner.
That's been in my
and
head
the author
for
of the
like 4
14th
years.
Amendment specifically said that the citizenship in the United States will not apply. By the way, this applies. This is the same as the Civil Rights Act that came just before the 14th Amendment,
Which he also said was a
this.
mistake. By the
Well,
way.
no, he was talking about the Civil Rights Act of '56. I don't know Charlie's reasoning for this. I've heard arguments against the Civil Rights Act, not ones that talk about like it's in a non-racist
He said it's
way.
the
right?
most. He said it's the most radical position that he has. So it's
And-
like majority of conservatives don't really agree with that. I don't know his argument either.
I don't.
Some.
I know some. Like, I think that the market should be able to decide who they get business to and who they don't get business to, and not in the like you shouldn't be served at a restaurant. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if somebody's racist and doesn't want you to eat at a restaurant, I want to know who the hell that person is, so that I can not give them my business, rather than forcing them to give people they hate business. I would rather know who they are so I can boycott them. But
for you to say that...
and I'm not saying I support abolishing the Civil Rights Act, by the way.
Okay, but for you to say that, a person born from two immigrants doesn't deserve to be born here or have U.S. citizenship because they didn't earn anything.
Not to two immigrants, to two illegal immigrants.
That's the key.
So I think in most countries now that have abolished just soil doctrine, most of them allow people to become citizens if they're born to two permanent residents on the soil of the country. Those are immigrants, of course, permanent residents. They're not citizens. But I think that you need I don't know how I feel about two permanent residents, but you need at least one parent that is an American citizen. That's for sure.
Yeah. I just want to also add that I'm an immigrant. I came to the country legally. I don't think Charlie Kirk is against immigrants like myself. He's against people abusing our laws or violating our laws, which illegal immigrants tend to do. And then they come to our country and abuse a loophole that allows them to have a kid in the country. And now you have two illegal immigrants with a U.S. citizen.
And by the way, so I just told you about how the author of the 14th Amendment specifically and very clearly outlined that this would not apply to foreigners, the children of diplomats, or aliens. The Supreme Court decision that caused this, that we now just allow anybody to be an American citizen, is Wong Kim Ark. Okay, and it was done roughly 15 years after the author of the 14th Amendment died. They waited for him to die, and then they totally desecrated the document that he wrote and ratified.
Senator Howard.
Okay.
1863.
He also said to bring back public executions.
I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think the person who killed Charlie Kirk should be publicly executed. I don't support the death penalty. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I don't support the death penalty. I see how it could be useful. The only reason I don't support the death penalty, is not because I don't see the utility in it, or I don't think people should be killed for awful crimes. It's only because I have a hard time trusting the government. This is actually probably something a lot of you would agree with. We have an exoneration rate that's far too high, and that includes people who sit on death row. And I don't trust the government to definitively be able to put somebody to death. I think that you always need to. The exoneration process is a check and balance on the justice system, and you get to sit in prison until you die. And during that entire time, between when you go to prison and when you die, you are able to file appeals and get yourself out of prison if you're there wrongfully, and then sue the government for wrongful imprisonment. So I don't support the death penalty, but if we could, for some reason, 100% convict somebody, like we know for like an omniscient fact that this person is 100% guilty of doing a school shooting or some other horrific crime, I say televise it.
Can I just ask you, are you against public executions?
Yes.
Okay, even in the case, we have this case that was inspired by racism, right? It was a white supremacist in northern New York, I believe it was Buffalo. He went into Okay, there you go. He went into the grocery store, targeted black people, killed them because of their race. 9 of them, I believe it was. Do you believe this person should just rot in jail, or would you like to see this individual be put in public and executed?
I feel like if we were going to do the death penalty, that shouldn't be something that's public. It should just be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just like a preference of like, what we. I think this ends up being more of like a preference or like a debate of slippery slope or something like that. I think if you could 100% prove that somebody of like heinous crimes actually did it, like a school shooter or the Buffalo shooter, for example, who had the N-word on his rifle and went and targeted black people, I think those people should be publicly executed. I say televise it.
So they stopped doing it.
I was going to say something really prolific, but I forgot what it was.
But I just want to add, like with the death penalty, I believe that regardless of how much due process you get, at some point, if you...
Let me say this to y'all real quick.
We're going to keep talking. We're engaged in civil debate here.
Do not need to be debated about it. If y'all believe in something, stand for it, walk away from this.
Hey, give him a mic.
Right?
Can you come up to the mic and discuss it?
Fuck y'all.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a good
All right.
example of not liking public discourse, right? At the end of the day, Kim and I may have a difference in opinion from you guys, but America is literally founded on the idea that we can disagree publicly, peacefully, and do so.
And we want all of you to have a voice. That's why we're here. That's why we put a mic in front of you guys and give you the opportunity to come up here and speak in front of a lot of people. There's a lot of people watching at home, and I think it's important that everybody see these debates. And so I'm sorry you got cut off.
It's fine. I also feel like a lot of people are now coming out to talk about how he died, but I don't see anyone talking about people in Gaza. I don't see anyone talking about the House Speaker Melissa
Portman?
Yes, and her husband who died, which they died from a Trump supporter.
I think David can talk about this a little bit more, about how that person wasn't a Trump supporter. But what I would say is, like, I, right now, unequivocally condemn the death of Melissa Hortman. And notice how I think this sign actually does say R.I.P. Charlie Kirk, but he's just the most recent one. Nobody should be killed for their opinions. That includes communists, it includes Nazis. Until you act on your opinions in a violent way, you shouldn't be harmed because of them. And even then, you're not being caused because of your opinion, you're being harmed because you hurt somebody. Furthermore, just as a notice for everybody, he's a Jew, I'm a Zionist. We love to talk about Israel. We talk about it probably too much. It's not something that we're talking about on this tour, not because we're afraid of talking about it or anything like that, but just because there's a lot of conspiracy theories that Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel, and it's really something that is divided. I think our side is Israel, and we don't want to disrespect Charlie Kirk's legacy and his life's work by dividing our people. So that's the only reason we're not going to talk about it, is just because we feel that it's disrespectful to Charlie's memory.
Okay,
We'll talk about. We'll be talking about it eventually, though.
Also, what legacy do you think that he has?
His legacy, I think, was
Doing this.
encouraging people to have free speech, free dialogue, showing people to be fearless in their opinions, whether they're like me or they're like you, giving people like you a platform, giving people like me and David a platform. His mission was to free speech. More importantly to him, his faith. I'm not religious, but obviously Charlie's faith was very important to him, and free speech as well. So I think that was his legacy.
Okay, yes, I've heard a lot about people saying that he was a Christian and things like that, but as far as I know, anything that he spoke about wasn't in the Word of God or showing anything
He talked about his faith a lot. I think it was probably the thing he talked about most, actually. He tried not to talk about his faith when he was sitting at a table like this with me and you, because, are you religious? Okay, you are religious. Well, a lot of people who hold your beliefs, secularism is obviously more common on the left. And so, David and I, if we were religious, right, we're not going to make an argument at a non-religious person from a religious perspective, because it's never going to matter to them. And so we try, religious conservatives or religious anybody tries to argue their opinions on a secular basis so that people can understand them and sort of realize that there's an argument outside of religion, and so that, because like you can't basically like compare apples to oranges, right? If he's not a Christian and I'm a Christian, I can't argue Christianity to him because he doesn't care. He's not a Christian. And so I think that's why you didn't hear Charlie on college campuses talking about faith a lot, but he talked about it a lot on his podcast. And he would stand in front of his supporters. Let's say you guys are all Trump supporters. We've got the opposite that Charlie had. He would stand in front of his supporters and say, "Do not harass the people that come up to speak to me. show them the respect that we're not shown on these campuses. They're children of God. They're God's creations, and treat them as such. And he's said this. I don't want to say he said it every time, but like.
Well, no.
Every
Time anybody would start booing in the crowd, right? Like Trump supporters would boo.
Yeah.
He would step right in and say, "We don't boo people. We don't do this." Why? Because it's a place where he can express.
I saw a video where they booed him, and no, he did not say anything. They said that's a freedom of speech. They were booing someone that was speaking, and he did not do anything.
Well, I'm sure that it's obviously difficult to control people. We had that issue yesterday. He remembers. So I think it would be difficult for Charlie to every single time somebody boos, like step in. But he did literally before he would actually start his programming, he would like rally everyone around his tent and say, "Do not disrespect these people. Be nice to them. Treat them with respect. Show them the respect we don't receive. They're God's creations. Treat them as such. Love them even though they disagree with you." Yeah.
We appreciate you having this conversation with us.
Yeah.
Very, very civil. That's all we're looking for at the end of the day. Because that way we can speak, you can speak. We're tolerant of your position. Same here. You may not agree with it, but we appreciate it. We appreciate everyone being here as well.
Especially the people who disagree with us.
No.
Especially the people who disagree with us.
Okay, just one more thing. As far as I'm concerned, I do have empathy for his children, but other than that, I really don't. I feel like the things that he spoke about and the things that he said didn't align with what I believe in at all. And that him saying that, death by guns is okay to withhold the Second Amendment is basically what happened to him. And I believe the power of your tongue is very strong. And it's sad for his children, but other than that,
Well,
I don't know.
I respect you for having empathy for his children. And again, I can't force you to have empathy for Charlie himself. But what I would say is I would probably wager that you and I disagree on almost everything. I think it'd
probably because the hats that you guys are wearing.
Yeah. So, but if you got shot and killed right now, I would have empathy for you, and I would feel bad for you. I think that Charlie would.
I don't think that he would at all.
Even the people that are celebrating, his death, I can't speak for it because he's obviously not here. But from what I've seen, what do you think you would do with them?
I think that he would immediately condemn it and say that you should never kill God's creation. That's what I would imagine he would say. Again,
but he's not going to advocate for their death or something.
No,
like
Charlie
that.
Actively advocated against political violence all the time, and I think that again, we're not Charlie. We don't know. We can't get in touch with him. So, like, we can't speak for him, but we can make guesses based on what we've seen from him and of his character, of how we think he would respond. But I mean, neither of us can really prove how he would react. So it's not like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
We just have to agree to disagree.
Yeah. All right. It was nice meeting you guys.
I appreciate you coming up.
Thank you so much.